Wonderful. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. Alderwoman Davis, Chairwoman Davis, has asked me to take the reins of the meeting this morning. She's unable to attend. Mr. Clerk, if you could please mark her as excused, that would be awesome. And I will call the meeting of the Transportation and Commerce Committee to order. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Vaccaro. Vice Chairman Cohen.
Present.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg. You have 4 present.
Great. With that, I believe we have minutes that we need to approve. I'll entertain a motion on approving the minutes. Not everyone at once.
What's the date of the minutes, please?
January 7th.
I move to approve the minutes dated January the 7th, 2021.
Is there a second on approving the minutes?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, will you please call roll?
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro. Vice Chairman Cohen.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Chairwoman Davis. You have 4 aye votes.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Thank you, members of the committee. We have 3 items before us today, and we'll start with the first item on the agenda, which is Board Bill 208. It's introduced by Alderwoman Davis, and it looks like it's a recommendation approved by ENA for a lease agreement with Boeing. Is there anyone from the airport to testify on behalf of the bill? Again, it's Board Bill number 208.
Yes. Yes, Committee Chair. This is Robert Solano. I'm the Airport Properties Division Manager. And
hi, Robert.
I'm here today to request, good morning. I'm here today to request your, oh, I'm sorry. Should I continue?
I just said good morning.
Oh, good morning. I'm here to request your approval today for a lease agreement with the Boeing Company. This is for flight training space, simulator bays, and the airport office building at 11495 Navade Road. That's really at near the intersection of Lindbergh Boulevard and Missouri Bottom Road in North County, just north of the airport. The term is an initial term of 4 years and 10 months, beginning March 1st, 2021. And ending December 31st, 2025. The 4 years and 10-month term is to work with Boeing on their administrative needs. And there's also one renewal option for 3 years, which must be approved by the Director of Airports. The revenue to the airport begins at $161,000 in year 1 and scales up in years 4 and 5 to $211,775. If the renewal term is exercised and approved, a consumer price index rent increase will kick in at that point. We respectfully request your approval of this lease agreement with the Boeing Company. I'm sorry,
Alderman,
you're muted.
You're muted, Alderman Cohen.
Thank you, both of you. Thank you for the insight, Robert. We'll take questions from the committee. Alderman Boyd.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Has Alderman Vaccaro joined?
Not yet.
No, he's in engrossment. That's where I came from. There's another committee going on.
Okay. Is Alderman Muhammad there as well?
I think he might be.
Okay. Alderman Oldenburg, do you have any questions?
I do not. Thank you.
Alderwoman Middlebrook.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, with that, I have no questions either. I'll entertain a motion on Board Bill number 208. Anyone care to make a motion on Board Bill number 208?
I move that we pass out with a due pass recommendation, Board Bill 208.
Second.
There's a motion from the Alderman from the 16th Ward, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 2nd Ward, that we pass Board Bill 208 with a due pass recommendation. Is there a call for previous roll?
Previous roll.
There's a call for previous roll. Is there any objection to previous roll? Hearing no objection to previous roll, Board Bill 208 passes out with a due pass recommendation. Thank you, Robert. We're going to move on to Board Bill number 209, sponsored by Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Good morning. Thank you, members of the committee, for hearing this out. This Board Bill number 209 is a new lease agreement, and it is with the Port Commission and BPS and SCF Lewis and Clark Terminals, LLC. This is for 2 years and 7 months with a mutual option of 7 years and 2 additional 5 years at a base rent, of $130,000, $130,260 and 75 cents, and it can increase 2% annually. And this is near number 5 Clinton, and it's going to be for parking and storage and for interior receiving, processing, and storing and transloading of cargo, or as a warehouse or distribution center for products. I have Thomas Ray here if there are any questions.
Great, thank you, Alderwoman. Did I hear someone, was that Mr. Ray? No, okay, I thought I heard someone trying to speak up.
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Who was that?
It was not me, Mr. Chairman. This is Tom.
Okay. All right, thank you. So we'll go ahead and take questions from the committee. Alderman Boyd.
No questions, thank you.
Alderman Vaquero, has he joined? No. Alderman Oldenburg.
No questions, thank you.
I presume Alderwoman Middlebrook doesn't have questions about her own bill. Actually, Mr. Ray, I do have some questions though for you, if you're able to unmute yourself.
I think I am.
Oh, great. Okay, thank you. So this is a new lease agreement. Who had the lease prior?
This was a 99-year lease on a fee simple that was owned by the city, and it went vacant. And we leased it for a short term, and then Grossman next door, Grossman Iron and Steel, had an interest in it. That fell through, although they did lease part of the parking for their business. Then SCF, as you may remember, has the Municipal River Terminal lease for 25 years, had an interest in the warehouse and some parking because it's right next door. And they, due to a flood, they needed to move some steel coils out of their warehouse, which is at river level. And when it rose up, it ruined the coil. So they moved them into the warehouse under a permit. And then we entered into this lease, which is about for 20 years, which terminates, it coincides with the lease of the MRT. So that's the history of this.
So for the lease amount, is it greater than or less than what we were initially leasing it for?
Well, that's kind of difficult. You mean originally for the 99-year lease?
Correct. Yeah. I mean, I would hope that after 99 years that we're leasing it for more than what we were.
That's correct. It is for more than the 99-year lease. They built the lease, the lessee at that time built on our fee. And it's kind of like one of those parcels downtown where you lease the land and you build a building and have it for 99. Back in the day, 99 years was less than fee ownership, going back to the turn of the 1900s. That was an only acceptable number of years for a lease less than a fee ownership. And that was the trick back in the day, where how you left the land in downtowns throughout the United States to your heirs.
So with respect to this particular lease agreement, I mean, it seems a little unusual that we have a 2-year, 7-month initial term, and then it looks like with 1 7-year and 2 5-year mutual options. So why the 7-year and then the 2 5-year?
Well, we normally do like 10 3/5 or 5 4/5. But in this particular case, we wanted to coincide with the termination of the MRT. So it's about 20 years.
Okay.
SCF wanted to try it out for 2 years and 7 months. And then they figured that we'd go 7 after that, which it gets us to the 10 on the end for the termination of the MRT lease.
Okay, and these are by mutual agreement as well. So if at any point we decide that we want to, exercise an option to, extricate ourselves from the lease, we're able to do that.
Correct.
Great. Okay, I don't have any other questions. I'll entertain a motion on Board Bill 209.
I move to pass Board Bill 209 out of committee with a due pass recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 16th Ward that we pass Board Bill 209 out with a due pass recommendation. I'll entertain a motion for previous roll.
Objection.
Oh, objection to previous roll. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro, Vice Chairman Cohen,
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad, Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Chairwoman Davis, Alderman Vaccaro, and Muhammad. You have 4 aye votes.
I hear Alderman Vaccaro's voice. Is someone
You do?
listening to another committee hearing that he might be at, or am I?
I was.
I was.
We both.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the clarification. Okay. All right. So Board Bill 209 passes out with a due pass recommendation. The third item on our agenda is a resolution. We have a resolution for review, which is resolution number 91, introduced by Alderman Roddy. Alderman, you're on mute, Alderman Roddy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. This is a resolution. I can talk about this for quite a while if you like the background of it and so forth. I'll try to scale my comments to your time available. This is kind of something I'm trying to do on my way out. I have worked on and off for the last couple of years with our former colleague Scott Ogilvie on this, and it's an outgrowth of the work that we were doing in the HUD's committee. And my real interest is in just doing the resolution as much as anything is to get some attention to the effort that's going on and try to grow some support for it so that there's some continuity. If we, the resolution calls for a transportation study to be done. And I always fear that if we end up doing a study that we end up paying for the study and frankly collecting dust and never implementing. I think we've had some success over the HUD's committee, and it's kind of an outgrowth of what's happened over there. And if it's all right with the committee members, I'd like to provide some context to this and why this is, I feel, very, very important going forward. And hopefully, I think this is an issue that is near and dear to a number of aldermen. I thought I would walk through kind of my personal experience and how important transportation's been to the development that's happened in my ward. And then I could turn it over to Scott, our former colleague, I don't know, Scott, Mr. Ogilvy, and he can talk some of the specifics about it. Most of my time on the board, I felt like it's almost a foregone conclusion that most people realized the city had, serious financial problems, and much of what we needed to do was to grow the tax base to provide important services, for our residents. And so that has always been kind of an important, I thought, role as an alderman was to try to figure out how to grow that tax base. And with the declining population and loss of jobs, I felt that we were losing that tax base. And I think in recent years, there's been a focus on a lot of social justice issues, which are very, very important. But I think, dealing with some of the long-term issues of poverty and things like that require money. And I think we've kind of jumped over that fact in a lot of the debate that's happened. And I'd kind of like to think that what we're doing over at HUD's is re-anchoring us to what's the requirements that we're going to need money to solve some of these issues. What St. Louis City does is we actually transfer wealth. We tax one group of people, and then we tend to overtax one group of people, and then we provide taxes to other groups. And until we, about 2/3 of our city's population is below 80% of the median income for the area. And we just don't have that much tax base left. And for a long time in the city, we've had this attitude almost like it's 1950s. And we have, at the time, we had probably 70% of the region's population. And we thought of ourselves as almost a monopoly, and that all we had to do was raise our taxes, and we could just go ahead and do whatever we wanted to do. And we could raise whatever revenue but we needed. Unfortunately, what's happened is we are in a far more competitive environment now. And I think we need to be strategic. And so, and not just the idea that we can go ahead and raise taxes and that solves all our problems. So the first thing we did over at HUD's was begin taking a look at tax abatement and so forth. And wanting to take a look at how we, in essence, price our product. If you think of the city, we price things, we are pricing our services in the form of taxes. And the idea that one price fits all, it's just kind of a misnomer. But so we spent a lot of time on that. And then as we did after that, we went ahead and developed a business plan. And, with the business plan, the idea is that we begin taking the tax breaks and applying them more strategically. And as we're going through that process, there began calls for community benefit agreements. And I think the disconnect is that we have a situation where in order to grow the tax base, we need values to increase. And we have many people now that I think haven't come to the realization that, as values increase, so does, cost of housing and so forth. And they seem to want to fight the growth of value. And the discussion of community benefit agreements, should we be using, what should we be using those agreements for? And so I put a halt on that discussion, or at least delayed it. And I wanted to focus and spend some time understanding affordable housing and the trade-offs between that and transportation. And I think there's a lot to be said. I'm kind of giving the breathing thing. Nobody's looking. Scott's the only one on here that I can see, so I'm not really sure who's listening. But in any event, we wanted to.
Alderman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So I don't think that the chairwoman realized that this was being presented in its totality today. When she asked me to take over the chair. She said that there are only a few items on the agenda that should be pretty quick. I do have a 10:30 meeting, and
I'll give a very abbreviated version then. This is designed to get us some money to study transportation in a variety of different ways. Scott is here to answer questions. We would like to try to get this out before, before we go down, so that we believe there might be money available to fund this.
So can I ask the question? I personally would like to learn more and have the benefit of your insight into the resolution. Would you be okay if we had a meeting next week to discuss this, or does this need to pass out today? Or
as long as we get it out before the I think we'd want to get it out before the session ends so that we could get started on it. I think there's some conversations already starting on it. Scott, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't think it is essential that it passes today. So,
okay. We only have 4 out of the 7 committee members here, and I'm certain that some of the others would be interested in this as well. And my apologies, Alderman Roddy, I didn't realize that this was on the agenda for today either, when I agreed to chair the committee for Alderwoman Davis. So if you're okay with it, I'll
I'm here now. I'm going to be in 2 meetings, but I'm here. I didn't realize it started already.
Well, I did text you when it started, so.
I know. Okay, good. Well, then I'm not too late then.
But Alderman. Okay, so I'm going to have to hop off here in the next few minutes, and Alderwoman Davis is not here. Alderman Collins is not here, and I think we have. So that would be the 3 of us then. So I would prefer to hold this until next week and work with Alderwoman Davis on scheduling a meeting for next week so that we have a better opportunity for all of the members to, one, be present, but then also have the opportunity to ask either Alderman Roddy or Mr. Ogilvie the questions. It's weird saying Mr. Ogilvie versus Alderman Ogilvie, but I'm definitely very interested in learning more about it, and it certainly sounds like something I would support, but would like to afford it the appropriate time and opportunity to discuss it.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Well, I also would like to request that a representative from, was it Great Rivers Greenway? It's supposed to participate in this. Right, is that right, Alderman Roddy?
What we are, I believe the intent is that we're trying to find a number of like-minded organizations and people to provide funding for this, this isn't a single transportation solution. The idea is a much more kind of holistic view of how to reduce car dependency, or what the term. It encompasses more than just mass transit or anything. So certainly GRG would, we would think would be a like-minded and would share our interest in
right. No, I agree with that, and I support that 100%. But as I read your resolution, it basically says, now therefore be it resolved that the City Board of Public Service, Planning, Urban Design, Street Department, Bi-State Development Agency, which we have no control over, Great Rivers Greenway, which we have no control over, be part of this, Strategic Mobility and Transportation Master Plan. I have no reason to believe that the 2 entities, Bi-State as well as Great Rivers Greenway, would not want to participate. But since they're listed in the resolution, I would just like to hear from them. Every entity that's listed that we're resolving to do something. Does that make sense?
Except for, well, we had a number, and I will defer a little bit to Scott. I believe there were a number of internal discussions about who would be the players that we would request or who we would convene So some of these conversations have been informal, and we could bring those people in. I'm not sure how apprised they are yet of what we're proposing. So,
but would it be fair to put them in a resolution though, and then they say, "Well, I'm not participating. I have no interest." I mean, we could get in that quagmire too, couldn't we?
Well, I think most of those organizations we have some leverage with, in the sense that they're appointees of the mayor, or
okay. Certainly by state.
I mean, Scott actually worked on more of the actual wording of it, I guess.
You know what, we can talk more with respect to the chairperson who says he has a time crunch. I don't want to belabor the conversation. We can talk offline more about it. I just want to bring it up as.
Sure. If I can just interject a second, I'd say I'd be happy to discuss with any members of the committee between now and the next meeting some of the background and intent. And I think the intent in the resolution is certainly for the city to be the lead on this effort. But of course, public transportation and multimodal infrastructure is really essential to a comprehensive mobility plan for the city. So those agencies play a big role in providing that. So to leave them out would be, I think would leave a big hole in the development of the study. But if there's any members of the committee who want to discuss this between now and the next committee meeting, please reach out and we can talk through it.
Will do. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I think you're muted.
And someone keeps turning off my video too. So I was saying I would be happy to reach out to Alderman Roddy and Mr. Ogilvie to have a conversation around who else they think might be appropriate to attend the next hearing, and then circle back with Alderwoman Davis, Chairwoman Davis, to get something on the calendar so that we can discuss this next week.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Thank you both for being here. My apologies again. I didn't realize that this was on the agenda for today, but we will get it heard and hopefully passed out relatively quickly, despite the hiccup today.
Great. Thank you.
Okay. So that is all that's on the remaining agenda items. So the meeting of the Transportation and Commerce Committee stands adjourned. Thank you everyone for coming today.